Vanchakalpatarupyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratusse Namaha. So, chapter 16, verse 93, the pastimes of the Lord in his childhood and youth. Hearing this and understanding the Pandit's heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied in a humorous way, "My dear sir, I do not know what is good composition and what is bad, but whatever I have spoken must be understood to have been spoken by Mother Saraswati." When he heard this just judgment from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Pandit sorrowfully wondered why Mother Saraswati wanted to defeat him through a small boy. "I shall offer prayers and meditation to the goddess of learning," the champion concluded, "and ask her why she has insulted me so greatly through this boy." Saraswati had in fact induced the champion to compose this verse in an impure way. When it was discussed, she covered his intelligence, and thus the Lord's intelligence was triumphant. So that is like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking with Keshava Kashmiri, and he conquered him with his explanation of the verses in glorification of the Ganga. When the poetic champion was thus defeated, all the Lord's disciples sitting there began to laugh loudly, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them not to do so, and he addressed the poet as follows: "You are the most learned scholar and the topmost of all great poets, for otherwise how could such fine poetry come from your mouth? Your poetic skill is like the constant flow of the waters of the Ganges. I find no one in the world who can compete with you. Even in the poetic composition of such great poets as Bhavabhuti, Jayadev and Kalidas, there are many examples of faults. Such mistakes should be considered negligible. One should see only how such poets have displayed their poetic power. I am not even fit to be your disciple, therefore kindly do not take seriously whatever childish impudence I have shown. Please go back home, and tomorrow we may meet again, so that I may hear discourses on the Shastras from your mouth." In this way both the poet and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back to their homes, and at night the poet worshipped Mother Saraswati. In a dream, the goddess informed him of the Lord's position, and the poetic champion could understand that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. The next morning, the poet came to Lord Chaitanya and surrendered unto his lotus feet. The Lord bestowed his mercy upon him and cut off all his bondage to material attachment. The poetic champion was certainly most fortunate. His life was successful by dint of his vast learning and erudite scholarship, and thus he attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described all these incidents elaborately. I have only presented the specific incidents he has not described. the nectarian drops of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes can satisfy the senses of everyone who hears them. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Chapter 17. The Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even unclean Jaivanas become perfectly well-bred gentlemen by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Such is the power of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. I have already given a synopsis of the Kaishori Lila of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now let me enumerate his youthful pastimes in chronological order. Exhibiting his scholarship, beauty, and fine dress, Lord Chaitanya danced and chanted as he distributed the holy name of the Lord to awaken dormant love of Krishna. Thus Lord Sri Gaurasundar shone in his youthful pastimes. As he entered his youth, the Lord decorated himself with ornaments, dressed himself in fine cloth, garlanded himself with flowers, and smeared himself with sandalwood. By dint of pride in his education, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not caring for anyone else, defeated all kinds of learned scholars while executing his studies. In his youth, the Lord exhibited his ecstatic love of Krishna on the plea of disturbances of the bodily airs. Accompanied by his confidential devotees, he enjoyed various pastimes in this way. Thereafter the Lord went to Gaya. There he met Srila Ishvara Puri. In Gaya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was initiated by Ishvari Puri, and immediately afterwards he exhibited signs of love of Godhead. He again displayed such symptoms after returning home. Thereafter the Lord delivered love of Krishna to his mother, Sachi Devi, nullifying her offense at the feet of Advaita Acharya. Thus there was a meeting with Advaita Acharya, who later had a vision of the Lord's universal form. Srivas Thakur then worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the process of Abhishek. Sitting on a cot, the Lord exhibited transcendental opulence. After this function at the house of Srivas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu appeared, and when he met Lord Chaitanya, he got the opportunity to see him in his six-armed form. One day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited to Lord Nityananda Prabhu a six-armed form bearing a conch shell, disc, club, lotus flower, bow, and flute. Thereafter the Lord showed him his four-armed form, standing in a three-curved posture. With two hands he played upon a flute, and in the other two he carried a conch shell and disc. Finally, the Lord showed Nityananda Prabhu his two-armed form of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, simply playing on his flute, his bluish body dressed in yellow garments. Nityananda Prabhu then arranged to offer Vyasa Puja, or worship of the spiritual master, to Lord Sri Gaurasundar. But Lord Chaitanya carried the plough-like weapon called Musala in the ecstasy of being Nityananda Prabhu. Thereafter, Mother Sachi Devi saw the brothers Krishna and Balaram in their manifestation of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Then the Lord delivered the two brothers Jagai and Madai. After this incident, the Lord remained in an ecstatic position for 21 hours, and all the devotees saw his specific pastimes. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the ecstasy of the boar incarnation and got up on the shoulders of Murari Gupta. Thus they both danced in Murari Gupta's courtyard. After this incident, the Lord ate raw rice given by Suklambara Brahmachari and explained very elaborately the import of Hare Nama, the sloka mentioned in the Brihan Naradiya Purana. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. This verse repeats the word Eva, certainly, 3 times for emphasis, and it is also 3 times repeats Hare Nama, the holy name of the Lord, just to make common people understand. The use of the word Kevala only prohibits all other processes, such as the cultivation of knowledge, practice of mystic yoga, or performance of austerities and fruitive activities. This verse clearly states that anyone who accepts any other path cannot be delivered. This is the reason for the triple repetition, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else, which emphasizes the real process of self-realization. To chant the holy name always, one should be humbler than the grass in the street and devoid of all desire for personal honor, but one should offer others all respectful obeisances. A devotee engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that of a tree. Even if rebuked or chastised, he should not say anything to others to retaliate. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests, and even if it is drying up and dying, it does not ask anyone for water. Thus a Vaishnava should not ask anything from anyone. If someone gives him something without being asked, he should accept it. But if nothing comes, a Vaishnava should be satisfied to eat whatever vegetables and fruits are easily available. One should strictly follow the principle of always chanting the holy name, and one should be satisfied with whatever he gets easily. Such devotional behavior solidly maintains one's devotional service. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respects to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone please hear me. String this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. One must strictly follow the principles given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse. If one simply follows in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and the Goswamis, Certainly he will achieve the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly led congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the house of Srivas Thakur every night for 1 full year. This ecstatic chanting was performed with the doors closed, so that the non-believers who came to make fun could not gain entrance. Thus the non-believers almost burned to ashes and died out of envy. To retaliate, they planned various ways to give trouble to Srivas Thakur. One night, while kirtan was going on inside Srivas Thakur's house, a Brahmana named Chapala, the chief of the non-believers, who was talkative and very rough in his speech, placed all the paraphernalia for worshipping the goddess Durga outside Srivas Thakur's door. On the upper portion of a plantain leaf, he placed such paraphernalia for worship as odapula, turmeric, vermilion, red sandalwood, and rice. He placed a pot of wine beside all this, and in the morning, when Srivas Thakur opened his door, he saw this paraphernalia. Srivas Thakur called for all the respectable gentlemen of the neighborhood and smilingly addressed them as follows. Gentlemen, every night I worship the goddess Bhavani. Since the paraphernalia for the worship is present here, now all you respectable brahmanas and members of the higher caste can understand my position. Then all the assembled gentlemen explained, What is this? What is this? Who has performed such a mischievous activities? Who is that sinful man? They called for a sweeper, a hadi, who threw all the items of worship far away and cleansed the place by mopping it with a mixture of water and cow dung. After 3 days, leprosy attacked Gopala Chapala, and blood oozed from sores all over his body. Incessantly covered with germs and insects biting him all over his body, Gopala Chapala felt unbearable pain. His entire body burned in distress. Since leprosy is an infectious disease, Gopala Chapala left the village to sit down on the bank of the Ganges underneath a tree. One day, however, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing by and spoke to him as follows. My dear nephew, I am your maternal uncle in our village relationship. Please see how greatly this attack of leprosy has afflicted me. As an incarnation of God, you are delivering so many fallen souls. I am also a greatly unhappy fallen soul. Kindly deliver me by your mercy. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared greatly angry, and in that angry mood he spoke some words chastising him. O sinful person, envious of pure devotees, I shall not deliver you. Rather, I shall have you bitten by these germs for many millions of years. You have made Srivas Thakur appear to have been worshipping the goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you will have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. I have appeared in this incarnation to kill the demons, Pashandis, and after killing them, to preach the cult of devotional service. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges, and that sinful man did not give up his life, but continued to suffer. When Sri Chaitanya, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri, and then came back to the village of Kulia. Upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him instructions for his benefit. You have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur, the Lord said. First you must go there and beg for his mercy, and then, if he gives you his blessings, and you do not commit such sins again, you will be freed from these reactions. Then the Brahmana Gopala Chapala went to Srivas Thakur and took shelter of his lotus feet, and by Srivas Thakur's mercy he was freed from all sinful reactions. Another Brahmana came to see the kirtan performance, but the door was closed and he could not enter the hall. He returned home with an unhappy mind. But on the next day he met Lord Chaitanya on the bank of the Ganges and spoke to him. That Brahmana was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus he broke his sacred threat and declared, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. The Brahmana cursed the Lord. You should be bereft of all material happiness. When the Lord heard this, he felt great jubilation within himself. Any faithful person who hears of this Brahmana's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahminical curses. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Mukunda Datta with punishment, and in that way vanquished all his mental depression. Lord Chaitanya respected Advaita Acharya as his spiritual master, but Advaita Acharya Prabhu was greatly aggrieved by such behavior. Thus he whimsically began to explain the path of philosophical speculation, and the Lord, in his anger, seemingly disrespected him. At that time, Advaita Acharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood this, and he was somewhat ashamed, but he offered Advaita Acharya his benediction. Murari Gupta was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. When Lord Chaitanya heard Lord Ramachandra's glories from his mouth, he immediately wrote on his forehead, Ramdas, the eternal servant of Lord Ramachandra. Once Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Sridhar after kirtan and drank water from his damaged iron pot. Then he bestowed his benediction upon all the devotees according to their desires. After this incident, the Lord blessed Haridas Thakur and vanquished the offense of his mother at the home of Advaita Acharya. Once, when the Lord explained the glories of the holy name to the devotees, some ordinary students who heard him fashioned their own interpretation. When a student interpreted the glories of the holy name as a prayer of exaggeration, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, greatly unhappy, immediately warned everyone not to see the student's face henceforward. Without even removing his garments, Lord Chaitanya took a bath in the Ganges with his companions. There he explained the glories of devotional service. By following the path of speculation, philosophical knowledge, fruitive activity, or mystic yogi, to control the senses, one cannot satisfy Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Unalloyed devotional love for Krishna is the only cause for the Lord's satisfaction. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, My dear Uddhava, neither through Astanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. Lord Chaitanya then praised Murari Gupta, saying, "You have satisfied Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna." Hearing this, Murari Gupta quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. "Since I am but a poor, sinful Brahmana Bandhu, not Brahminically qualified, although born in a Brahmana family, and you, Lord Krishna, are the shelter of the goddess of fortune. It is simply wonderful, my dear Lord Krishna, that you have embraced me with your arms." One day the Lord performed Sankirtan with all his devotees, and when they were greatly fatigued, they sat down. The Lord then sowed a mango seed in the yard, and immediately the seed fructified into a tree and began to grow. As people looked on, the tree became fully grown, with fruits that fully ripened. Thus everyone was struck with wonder. The Lord immediately picked about 200 fruits, and after washing them, he offered them to Krishna to eat. The fruits were all red and yellow, with no seed inside and no skin outside, and eating one fruit would immediately fill a man's belly. Seeing the quality of the mangoes, the Lord was greatly satisfied, and thus after eating first, he fed all the other devotees. The fruits had no seeds or skins. They were all full of nectarian juice and were so sweet that a man would be fully satisfied by eating only one. In this way, fruits grew on the tree every day throughout the 12 months of the year, and the Vaishnavas used to eat them to the Lord's great satisfaction. These are confidential pastimes of the son of Sachi. Other than devotees, no one knows of this incident. In this way, the Lord performed Sankirtan every day, and at the end of Sankirtan, there was a mango eating festival every day for 12 months. Once, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing kirtan, clouds assembled in the sky, and the Lord, by his own will, immediately stopped them from pouring rain. One day the Lord ordered Srivas Thakur to read the Brihat Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, for he wanted to hear them at that time. As he read the 1,000 names of the Lord, in due course the holy name of Lord Nishinga appeared. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the holy name of Lord Nishinga, he became fully absorbed in thought. In the mood of Lord Nishingadev, Lord Chaitanya ran through the city streets, club in hand, ready to kill all the atheists. Seeing him appearing very fierce in the ecstasy of Lord Nishinga, people ran away from the street and fled here and there, afraid of his anger. Seeing the people so afraid, the Lord came to his external senses and thus returned to the house of Srivas Thakur and threw away the club. The Lord became morose and said to Srivas Thakur, "When I adopted the mood of Lord Nishingadev, people were greatly afraid. Therefore I stopped, since causing fear among people is an offense." Srivas Thakur replied, "Anyone who takes your holy name vanquishes 10 millions of his offenses immediately. There was no offense in your appearing as Nishingadev. Rather, any man who saw you in that mood was immediately delivered from the bondage of material existence. After saying this, Srivas Thakur worshipped the Lord, who was then greatly satisfied and returned to his own house. On another day, a great devotee of Lord Shiva, chanting of Lord Shiva's quality, came to Lord Chaitanya's house, where he began dancing in the courtyard and playing his damaru, a musical instrument. Then Lord Chaitanya, adopting the mood of Lord Shiva, got on the man's shoulders, and thus they danced together for a long time. On another day, a mendicant came to beg alms from the Lord's house, but when he saw the Lord dancing, he also began to dance. He danced with the Lord because he was favored by love of Krishna. Thus he flowed in the mellows of love of Godhead. On another day, an astrologer came, who was said to know everything, past, present, and future. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Please tell me who I was in my previous birth. The Lord said, please tell me by your astrological computations. Hearing the words of the Lord, the astrologer immediately began to calculate. Through calculation and meditation, the all-knowing astrologer saw the greatly effulgent body of the Lord, which is the resting place of all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same absolute truth, the same supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, the astrologer was confused. Struck with wonder, the astrologer remained silent, unable to speak. But when the Lord again put the question before him, he replied as follows: My dear sir, in your previous birth, you were the shelter of all creation, the supreme personality of Godhead, full of all opulences. You are now the same personality of Godhead that you were in your previous birth. Your identity is inconceivable, eternal happiness. When the astrologer was speaking so highly of him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped him and began to smile. My dear sir, he said, I think you do not know very clearly what I was, for I know that in my previous birth I was a cowherd boy. In my last birth I was born in the family of cowherd men, and I gave protection to the calves and cows. Because of such pious activities, I have now become the son of a Brahmana. The astrologer said, what I saw in meditation was full of opulence, and therefore I was confused. I am certain that your form and the form I saw in my meditation are one and the same. If I see any difference, this is an act of your illusory energy. The all-knowing astrologer concluded, whatever you may be, or whoever you may be, I offer my respectful obeisances to you. By his causeless mercy, the Lord then gave him love of Godhead, thus rewarding him for his service. Okay, we stop here and read on tomorrow. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Jai Adilila chapter 17, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Good Untitled Chapter Ki, Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees Ki, Jai,